Shalawam. This is Adasabasai one returning with this study called the Nephilim. And this is part 4, and we're looking at more of their evil devices. And you may be wondering why we're spending so much time on these evil devices. Well, because over the generations, they have been feeding these devices, these evil devices, their technology in drips. And what I am showing you, what I'm compiling and putting together, are all the different little drips that they have been feeding us over the generations to show you how they have gravely impacted our lives, gravely impacted us as humans, and how they are trying to destroy us, destroy our humanity. Well, they themselves can't really do it, so they want us to sabotage ourselves, get us to hate ourselves, so much so that we will buy in to their narratives, buy in to their technologies, and change ourselves. Of course, yes, they're destroying people through various means, but the greater majority of people that they will love to destroy, which will be the people that are of Alahayam Yahweh, they can't touch us. All right? Now, the only way that they can interfere with us is by causing us to sabotage ourselves. All right? So they're putting these things out there to cause us to despise our weakness. Yes, as human beings, as people, we are weak. Why? Because of the sin nature that has corrupted us through the fall of Adam and Hawa. It's because of that fall that Adam and Hawa was lowered, made lower than the angels. That's why Hamashiach had to come in the flesh to be made lower than the angels so that he, in his way, can elevate us once again. It's only through him that we can be elevated to be higher than the angels. But these devils, they want us to sabotage that plan, okay? And try to create God-like stature using their technology. Bearing in mind that we were never God-like. We were made in the image of Alahayam Yahweh. He's not a God. Gods are created beings, like the fallen angels that present themselves as deities, fallen deities. But they want us to elevate ourselves using their technology. And all it's going to buy us is a one-way pass to the lake of fire. So this is the reason why I'm spending this amount of time. Hopefully this is the last segment of this particular study. We'll move on to the fall of the Nephilim. I think there are only 2 segments for that. And then we can move off of the Nephilim altogether. But this is a very interesting study because it is really driving home the points that I've been making throughout my studies. That we're dealing with a second bloodline here on this earth. A second race of people. In fact, they're not people, they're creatures called the Nephilim. And all I'm doing is putting it in a nutshell so that you can look at it in a glance. Actually, it's not quite a glance, but you know what I'm saying. But you can see it all together in one go. All right? So this is part 4. Hopefully this is the last part because I too, it is wearying for me spiritually to do these studies. It is spiritually wearying. Or, yes, wearying. It makes me spiritually weary, in other words. All right? Because I'm delving into some darkness here. When I say delving in, meaning I'm bringing to the forefront the darkness that has been unleashed, has been released upon mankind. And I'm not just doing one item, I'm doing a whole bunch of them. And yet there's more, All that I've shown you is just the tip of the iceberg. All right? But I just want you to see for yourself. Okay, let's get started because this could be another long study. Now we will look at artificial intelligence and even touch on more inventions pertaining to food and what they want us to eat starting yesterday, and especially when their beast empire is up and running. So they want us to eat their franken foods way, way, way back, in the past. But they've introduced the ideas in the past because this is what is going to be in the future. So they're just basically breaking the ice, letting you know this is what we have planned for you. People who will not comply will be destroyed, or they will have to go into hiding. They'll have to go underground. And we know many of the people, especially the Gentiles, will have to go underground. And they will survive because Alahayam Yahweh has selected who of the Gentiles will become his. So those are the ones that he will protect underground. They're not going to take the mark of the beast. They're not going to eat their franken foods. They're not going to comply to their demands. They're just simply going to go underground. And Alahayam will provide for them. Okay? Artificial intelligence is just as it sounds. Artificial, not real. And yet much hype is given expectedly by its evil inventors and willingly accepted by many people. People love artificial intelligence because it makes their lives easier. They can create music in minutes. Same thing with writing an essay or what have you. They can do it in minutes using artificial intelligence. And this is what is blowing the lazy-minded people today. Not only lazy-minded, but lazy in body as well. Back in the day, we had to do everything manually. And we grew up doing everything manually. And it was expected. It was expected to go out there and get a job. In fact, it was expected to go and get an education in order to get a job, in order to survive, to pay your bills. But we got the young ones coming up. They have the TikTok and the different social media platforms that they can put videos out there and make money off these platforms. And they don't have to really labor for their bread. So they've become lazy. And this is the reason why they love technology, because with technology, they can make a lot of money. All right? Whereas back in my days, we had the grandparents going into the fields and what have you, digging up potatoes, growing their own foods, raising their own chickens. But today, no, we have supermarkets for that. People don't want to raise their own crops. They don't want to raise their own chickens and what have you. They want to go and buy it. We don't have time for that. We don't want to get our hands dirty. And this is the problem with this generation that is living today. And not only this generation, but those that love technology. Because there are some of my generation that love technology. Some people of my generation, that is. People, for the most part, are easily fascinated by inventions which they themselves are incapable of creating, and especially if said inventions are deemed critical to our existence. People are fascinated by anything that they themselves cannot do, and especially if it has been proclaimed as being critically it is critical, to our existence. Without it, we can't exist. Where was AI back in the 70s, 60s, 50s? People survived then. We didn't have the technology then as we have now. And people survived, and people were happier, and people lived fulfilled lives. But now they want to introduce mankind to artificial living. You don't even need to exist in this reality. You can create your own reality. We looked at that in the last study with those visors. Anyone who believes that they cannot survive living on the earth without artificial intelligence and all other related technologies are both programmed and brainwashed. And we looked at that as a separate study, using the movies and the television shows to program and brainwash people. And not only that, but the social media as well and the mainstream media all have been used to program and brainwash people over the generations into believing that technologies are here to benefit us when in fact it has crippled mankind tremendously. Okay. We are seeing a rise in the use of artificial intelligence like never before, because the populations on the earth are ripe for the lies and deception that come with their technologies. Many people are blind and even deaf to the grave dangers Nephilim technologies pose to mankind. They see only the so-called quote-unquote benefits. There are no benefits. All it's doing is making us lazy, lazy in our minds, lazy in our actions. So obesity comes up. That's why you have a rise of obesity, because people have become physically lazy. If you got a car that can take you wherever, why do you need to walk? Back in my days, people either walk or rode a bicycle. Well, they had the donkey carts too. Well, I'm not that old because we did have cars, but not everyone had a car. All right? We had to use our own legs to get places, even if it's only if it's 10 minutes down the road. 15 minutes down the road. You know what people want to do? They want to jump in the car and just go. Too lazy to walk. All right? But most of the time people rode bicycles in my day. I came from a small village. All right? And when we had to go to town, we take the bus and go to town. And we walk all through town and whatnot. That was a privilege for us. In fact, as a child growing up, that was an honor to be taken into town, to walk around with your parents and what have you. Today, children, all they want to do is sit in front of the computer, gaming and doing all kinds of craziness. They don't want to explore what living, true living is all about. They want to live through technology. They want to live on a screen. They want to be an avatar in some game or what have you. To them, that is living. Because all they have to do is push a button and the person jumps or runs or what have you. They don't actually have to do it themselves. They can sit in a lazy chair and perform extraordinary feats on a screen. That is the height of laziness. These benefits are heavily tainted with abominations of one sort or another. Many will seek comfort from this device called AI. They will also seek answers to everyday problems. They will seek help when they are not well emotionally and physically. They will seek after friendships and many other activities that once called for real people integrating in each other's lives. Suddenly now AI has taken the place of relationships, of, when I said relationships, I'm talking about between person to person. You're meeting someone for the first time, you introduce yourself, you get to know them. Well, if they are compatible with you, then yes, they become a friend, sometimes a best friend, what have you. Or you realize, okay, this person is not my cup of tea, so I'll just leave them there. And we've had to go through a lot of those kinds of people. And that's all part of living. Sifting through all the different bodies that come your way, that cross your path, to see whether or not they are compatible with you, with your lifestyle, with everything that you are. Because if they're not, then they can continue on their way. But if they are, then you have a friendship with this person. But now they're totally removing that. Even when you go to the ones in the lab coats when you're not well, you have to have a relationship with that person because they get to know you. They become your family physician. All right? They get to know you. They know your children, and your children become their clients. I'm trying to use different words because of the algorithms, okay? And so on and so forth. I grew up in that era. All right? But now they're gonna introduce this AI to do all of the above. And you don't need to connect anymore with other people. All right? You don't have to connect. So then people become socially unskilled. They don't know how to talk to one another. They can talk to a machine because they can program the machine to talk to them. But you can't program another person, and you don't know how that other person is going to react to what you have just said. So your people skills now are gone, out through the window. You don't know how to react to someone's negative response or their criticism. It could be constructive criticism to help you to step up. But you don't know how to deal with that because you've never been criticized before by AI, your best friend. You've never been told you were wrong. So you don't know how to have a conversation to prove your point or to back down and say, you know what, you're right. I was wrong. Forgive me. You don't know how to do all of that. Because all of those are people skills that you learn through communicating with one another over a lifetime, even. But you don't know how to do it. You're incapable of doing it because of this. And now it's going to be even worse. People that keep them to themselves is usually because they have no people skills. And the more they keep to themselves, the less they become skilled in talking to other people. When you break out of that shell and you start to talk to people, then you start to gain people skills. And this is what this AI is going to do. Destroy everything that makes us people. Unbelievable. AI will replace all of the above, rendering people to be totally dependent on technology, robbing them of the essence of life, which is called living. How can you be living if you're dependent on a machine to tell you how to live, where to go, what to do? You can't even think for yourself anymore. You can't even communicate with other people anymore. This is what makes people people. When we can walk down the street, see a friend, and we start to have a conversation, you feel so alive after that. Because you just met your friend, we had a wonderful conversation, even the conversations that don't make you feel good. You get angry, you become angry with that person, and then you realize, you know what, it's not worth it, or what have you, you deal with it. That's all part of living. It's not always a bed of roses. Or rose petals, I should say, because roses have thorns. Right? But it's not always sweet. You have the good and the bad. And you learn to deal with the bad, right? Because that's all part of living. This is what this technology is doing. It's robbing us of living. Because people will be socially unskilled to interact with other people comfortably, they will seek after AI to also fill this void. So AI now will become your best friend, your companion, your husband, your wife, what have you, because you don't know how to communicate with another person. You know, there's some people that don't even look you in the eyes. I can't handle people that can't look me in the eye when they're talking to me. That shows there's something disrupted in their social skills. And that's why when you have children, you teach your children to always look you in the eye when they're talking to you. Don't be busy playing with your toys and responding to me. No, 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 that does not do. Stop what you're doing. I ask you a question. Stop what you're doing. Look me in the eye and talk to me. It's going to take you 10 seconds to respond to me. And you can afford 10 seconds from your playtime. And this is how you need to train up your children, to always look you in the eye when they're talking to you. Because they will grow up to be children that will always be when their eyes are not focused on you, they will say anything to get you off their backs. If you want to see honesty, you look in their eyes. And they will have to respond to you in honesty because you're looking into their eyes. And you will know when they're lying. And this is teaching them a skill to know when someone is lying to them or not. Because a person that can't look you in the eye will lie to you. And even if they're looking you in the eye and they're lying to you, you'll be able to tell. Because they're tells. The eye can't stare at you. They tend to flicker back and forth. Their eyeballs. Anyways, that's a story for another time. So this is what AI is going to do. Replace those human connections. The convenience about AI is that it can be easily programmed to whatever you're looking for. People will become the loneliest people alive, even though they're surrounded by many other people. And the key ingredient that they will be especially be missing is love. Do you know that? You think artificial intelligence can love you? Those demonically possessed machines, you think they can love you? You think those bots that people will be buying or have already started buying to be their partners and what have you can love you? They're machines. A car can't love you. You can love your car, but the car can't love you back. If people cannot see that they will be robbed of their existence, it makes them sad, sad people. All right? Now, I didn't say this, and I should have said this from the very, very beginning. Once again, it is extraordinarily hot here, right? I have my fan running as usual. It's a special kind of fan. keeps everything cool. And I've tried to aim it away from the microphone, but if you hear a little bit of a feedback, my apologies. Please understand, I'm trying to keep the computer cool and keeping myself a little cool at the same time, because it's up in the 40s right now. And it's going to stay like this for who knows when, right? But I have to do this work. Come what may, I have to do the Father's work. So, forgive me. Let's look at first Yochanan, the book of 1 John chapter 4, verse 7. I will always integrate scriptures to remind us who we're serving. That we're not to be afraid of these devils and their devices. All right? First Yochanan chapter 4, verse 7. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of Alahayam. So you see where true love comes from. Comes from Alahayam Yahweh. These machines can't love you because they're not from him. They're from the Nephilim. So all they're going to do is teach you hate. And they're going to call it love. And everyone that loves is born of Alahayam and knows Alahayam. So when we love and we can love one another, we are of Alahayam Yahweh. I'm not talking about conditional love either. I'm talking about unconditional love. He that loves not knows not Alahayam, for Alahayam is love. He is unconditional love. And we can only acquire that kind of love through him. Verse 9. In this was manifested the love of Alahayam toward us, because Alahayam sent his only begotten Son into the world, that we might live through him. Herein is love, not that we loved Alahayam, but that he loved us and sent his Son to be the propitiation for our sins. Beloved, if Alahayam so loved us, we ought also to love one another. And this is what is going to be missing in people. No wonder Hamashiach said that the love of many will wax cold. With technology, we're being transformed. All right? Now, those that submit to it, I'm not talking about the ones that use it. I'm using technology right now, but I'm not transformed. That's why they're taking down my videos. But anyways, but when you love technology and you allow it to dictate your life and you submit to it, your love will grow cold towards one another. All right? We have to use it because we are living in this world until Alahayam regathers his people and sets the record straight and destroy all of technology, because we're under this regime. All right? But it doesn't mean that we have to love it. I said that before. Okay, let's get started with, of course, artificial intelligence. This evil device is taking over this world like a wildfire gone unhindered. So every day you're hearing more and more about this AI, because this is the launching pad for many other technologies. And with this artificial intelligence, what it is trying to promote is a form of intelligence that is higher than your intelligence. That's what it's telling you. Even though it's artificial, oh, it's higher than your intelligence. Okay. And so you need it. You need it to be in the know, to be in the crowd. So this is taken from Wall Street Journal. AI can recreate your loved ones after they die. Is that good or bad? And we're going to come back to this again later on in another few slides. So you have the new technology can let us see and hear representations of those we have lost. Will that bring comfort? Or will it distort the grieving process? I can tell you right off the bat, it is going to destroy or distort the grieving process. It's going to prolong it. You will never be able to grieve properly and say goodbye to your loved one. All right? There's no real order to this study pertaining to AI. What we are to see concerning this evil invention are the so-called benefits that are actually crippling mankind. So let us look at this AI that can recreate a loved one that passed on. Instead of going through the grieving process, this invention will only prolong the healing that grieving brings. In this life, people will live and they will die. The only people that will not die are the regathered 12 tribes of Yashraal, starting with the southern kingdom first and then the northern kingdom, talking about the remnant, okay? Grieving is a necessary part of mourning the loss of a loved one, knowing that the person is no longer alive, but yet viewing them as a hologram and hoping to use this method to help with the grieving process is counterproductive. It doesn't help you to heal. You will never be healed from the pain of your loss of a loved one. I know this. I lost my mom a few years ago, and it hurt. I cried and cried. I didn't think I would ever stop crying. We were very close. But a few months later, the thing is, the Heavenly Father told me, He said, grieve for your mother. Mourn for her. Don't hide from the pain. If you want to cry, cry. But talk to me about it. And every day, throughout the day, I talked to him about my pain. One of the fears that I had is that I would forget what her voice would be like. I would forget what she sounded like when she laughed, because my mom loved to laugh. He said, no, you're not going to forget that. Those are your memories that are sealed in your mind and your heart forever. And 9 years later, I still can hear my mother's voice. I know what her voice sounds like, not that I hear her voice. And I still remember what her laughter is like. There's some things that happen, and a thought will come to me that may, remind me of a memory of something that she had said, and will make me chuckle. You know how long my grieving process took? 4 months. She died in August, and by December, I was smiling again. I know some people, for years, they're still crying over their loved ones. And you know why I was able to be healed so quickly? Is because I obeyed Alahayam Yahweh. I didn't hide from the pain. He said, do not hide from the pain. He said, if you have to take baby steps, then take baby steps. But do not hide from the pain. This is the natural process of grieving. When you hide from it, you got to keep going over and over the same process, and you never can progress and be healed. The wound needs time to be healed, but it also needs to be exposed to me. He said, talk to me about it. There were times I got angry. Not angry that she died, but angry that the world was not mourning with me about her loss, about me losing her. He said, the world doesn't know her. He says, it's okay. You grieve for your mother. But that anger didn't last very long. Sorry, he just hit my mic. The anger didn't last very long. It was a situation that happened. Okay, I'll tell you. So my mom had just passed away. I had just gone back to work, and I was invited to this. It was some sort of a end of summer party. In fact, I was invited, but I had to go and drop something off at the place where this party was being held. And I said, no, I don't want to join in with the party. Well, it wasn't really a party. They had a band there playing and people. It was daytime. It was an end of summer gathering at this club. It wasn't a nightclub, it was a sports club. A club that, they have tennis and all kinds of physical activities going on, that kind of a sports club. All right. And it was one of those big shot type sports club. You need to pay $60,000, maybe more now, to join. Can you imagine? Just to join, $60,000, Canadian dollars. Anyways, but I just went to drop something off, and the people invited me to stay for the party because, there's food and what have you. No liquor or anything, but just food and enjoyment with the singing. And I'm like, no, I just want to go home. And I went to the bus stop, and I was sitting at the bus stop. I could still hear the music going on. Somehow, something inside of me, I just got so angry that here I am mourning the loss of my mother. Barely, not even 2 months yet. And here these people are rejoicing. I'm like, what? Don't you see that my mama passed away? You should be mourning. Those were the thoughts going through my head. And the father said, no, they don't know her. So how could they mourn for her? And even if they knew her, they wouldn't have had a relationship with her because she lived all the way in the islands and they're here in Canada. All right? But he said, your feelings of anger is all part of the grieving process. So just let it go. Let it go. And I let it go. As he instructed me throughout my grieving process, I obeyed. And within a matter of months, I was smiling again. I was smiling again. I had stopped crying, I think weeks before. And then I was able to smile again. So you can get past, you can get over the grief. But if you prolong it with this artificial intelligence machine, this nonsense, you will never get past it. You'll never get over the loss. All right? This AI is taking the place of a dead loved one, is also necromancy. Do you know that? And could ultimately lead a person down that path to seek after this witchcraft using mediums and such, which is an abomination. The fact that you are conjuring up someone that has died, yes, it's a machine, but the business behind it is called necromancy. The truth behind it, what it is truly promoting, is necromancy. What's there to stop people from seeking a medium, some sort of witch or what have you, to conjure up a loved one? And by the way, they're not really bringing up dead spirits. The only spirits they're bringing up are Nephilim spirits, familiar spirits. We're going to look at that later on. Familiar spirits, that's all they're bringing up. That's why Alahayam Yahweh hates necromancers, witchcraft, any form of witchcraft, because it is a form of witchcraft. They're dealing with demons. And the same thing with these machines that are showing you an image of your loved one and speaking with your loved one's voice, because some people may have a recording of their loved one's voice. They can reproduce it. All right? The ultimate creature that is operating this machinery will be demons. I kid you not. The Barayam chapter 18 verse 10. Book of Deuteronomy chapter 18 verse 10. There shall not be found among you anyone that makes his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that uses divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, meaning to join oneself, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. A necromancer, I have explained that later on, so we'll look at what a necromancer is in case you don't know. For although all that do these things are an abomination unto Yahweh. You see what they're trying to do? Make us an abominable people by conjuring up images of dead loved ones and saying, oh, well, we're just helping you to grieve. We're helping you in the grieving process. They're not helping you to anything. They're helping you to become an abomination. And because Yahweh Alahayam will drive them out from before you. So this is Alahayam Yahweh speaking to the 12 tribes through Masha, telling them don't have anything to do with the nations around you. Because the nations that are around you, these are the things that they're doing that I hate, that are an abomination to me. And these are the reasons, these were the reasons why Alahayam drove out those nations out of the promised land. Verse 13, you shall be perfect with Yahweh Alahayam. And that word perfect means tamayam, meaning complete. He's not talking about perfect that you never make a mistake. No. That's not what perfect is in his life. That's not what complete is in his life. When you're completed with him, that's when you become perfect. Even with your flaws and the little mistakes that you make, as long as he is in your life, you're complete. You're whole. You've been made whole. All right, that's what perfect is in the eyes of Alahayam Yahweh, when he is in our lives and he makes us whole again. All right. So let's move on to the next slide. And as you can see here, they're using the children. We have here our new best friend is an AI. This is a robot. This looks like a boy right here. They all came with the same picture. And here we have this little girl with her cute little robot friend called Moxie. You see how they try to make it so cute and adorable that the children will love it and the parents will go and buy it for their child? And all that they're doing here is training up the child to be able to communicate with a machine, not with one another. What happened to her little friends? The little play dates? Why would you buy something like this for her? Because once she has this now, she's not going to be interested, or he's not going to be interested in making friends. And then she's going to grow up, and you know what she's going to do? End up marrying a hologram or a bot, a robot. Because that's all she's capable of doing. All right? And they make her look so happy here with this cute little friend. And parents will be like, oh, there's nothing wrong with it. You know, there's everything wrong with it. Why are you training up your children with machines? They need to be with people. Even the iPhone and well, not just the iPhone, but the cell phones and the tablets and all these different things, those things should be limited in children's lives. In fact, when they're very young, they shouldn't even have them. And even when they become teenagers, you shouldn't be giving your teenagers these things either. Because being a teenager is it's already difficult with the growing pains. But then when you introduce this technology to them, this is what they're going to resort to find answers instead of coming to mommy and daddy and sitting down having a chat. And this is the reason why the teenagers, they don't want anything to do with their parents. They go to their friends, they go to the machines, the tablets and what have you. They close the doors. The parents don't know what's going on behind the closed doors because they have no relationship with their children. You think that she would want to talk to her parents as she's getting older? She has this machine that she can talk to, and she can tell this machine all her business. And you know what these machines can do? Because they're possessed with demons, tell her things to do and not to do. Evil things too, make evil suggestions. You think these machines are just little gadgets that you wind up? No. This artificial intelligence they have demons in them. And they will program this child or the children to think the way how the devils want them to think, even to despise their own parents. I'm telling you, you give your child a robot to play with, you in for some big trouble down the road. Okay, let's move on. And so now they are tackling the little ones to rob them of social skills by introducing them to AI as a friend or even a best friend. She'll say, oh, I love her. I'll call her Moxie, Moxie B, my best friend, BFF. All right? Crippling them. When they grow up, incapable of socializing with other people, even within their family, will lead them to make strange choices like buying a bot, SEX bot, to be a spouse or to have an AI in the form of a hologram to be a spouse. That's why you see those people doing that. And let me tell you something, right? When you see them having relationship with machines, how do you think they're going to procreate? They're going to want children. That's where the other machine is going to come in now, called the baby pods. You see why they have the baby pods? Because of this. That leads to this. Because this here is an AI machine, looking machine. And this child here is looking to this machine for answers. They got the ones, oh, let's ask Alexa this question. Okay, she wants answers to life. She's going to ask her Moxie friend the questions that she should be asking her parents. Moxie, where do babies come from? All right. You see what I'm saying, right? This we looked at in the last study. Then it will not stop there, for machines are incapable or for procreating. And this is where the baby pods will come in. Then these children that will be grown in artificial wombs will be soulless, perfect candidates to be hosts for unclean spirits, which are also called Nephilim. All right, the unclean spirits are called Nephilim. Mankind is being dealt a death blow, and people are not even objecting to it. They are too captivated by technology to even care. Although there are a few people who are awakened to these evils, but there are way too many people who are brainwashed into loving it. And now they're leading their children down this dark path with these possessed machines. We were created for relationship with each other and with Ha'ola, that's supposed to be Ha'olayawan, not Ha'okayawan. Typo, sorry, meaning the highest. Deny oneself of this much needed interaction will turn a person into a sociopath, as they will ultimately emulate their best friend and or spouse, the AI powered robot. So they have no emotions, they have no compassion or empathy or whatnot. So then you become just like them. Sociopath. We learn empathy, compassion, and sympathy from our contact with other people throughout our lives. And AI is incapable of showing these very human traits. And worse yet, if it begins with children, imagine the kind of adults they will become after learning from their mechanical friend. Then there is the evil sphere of influence, where these machines can teach little ones to do evil. While mommy and daddy not listening, this moxie friend here can start to program her mind. All right, and that's why the parents are going to start seeing strange behaviors, disobedience, talking back, all kinds of things because of this machine. And this machine will remain quiet. And when she goes into the room and this machine is there, then it's going to start whispering in her ears. Because now what it's wanting her to do is to bond with it. The creature that is running this, which will be the demon, want her to bond with it, to listen to it and not to the parents. All right? Now it has here, choose your AI friend. And if you notice, they come in all colors and all genders. All right? So this is called replica, your strangely lifelike AI friend. So even though they look like this here, they have them that they can look even more lifelike. Like I said, this technology is 50 years old. And so children grow up to be adolescents, the most trying time of their lives with growing pains, among the many other changes in this young person's life. And now added to these changes is the inability to connect with other humans. Of course, they will turn to AI as it will be readily available, easily accessible, and programmable. This technology is demonically possessed, so there is no real life likeness as they advertise. Remember, the Nephilim are half human, half angel, so they have a little of our humanity in them. This is what they are using to lure people into their evil web of deceit and abomination. All right, so don't forget, Nephilim are half humans. So when they possess the machines, they're going to portray a little bit, tiny little bit of some sort of human-like nature that will convince people that, hey, these machines are becoming sentient or they're becoming almost emotional, but they're not. It's all a portrayal, all right, based on a memory that they once had. Talking about the Nephilim. These friends are of all different colors, genders, races, ages. Whatever you want, you can have at the touch of a button. But at what cost? Relationships with people can never be replaced by machines, even if they are possessed and speaking like a person. They are saying now that AI is becoming sentient and even emotional, but this is only because of the Nephilim spirits within. It's all deception. The worst of this is the evil influence that AI will have over people, especially if they are incapable of thinking for themselves. People will be encouraged and influenced into becoming jealous, hurt other people to take away what they have, to steal, lie, and commit murder. In other words, this technology will lead anyone who submits to it to break all of the commandments of Alahayam Yahweh. Why? Because the demons, the devils that they are, they are incapable. They hate Alahayam Yahweh and they will not obey his commandments. This is the reason why they fell in the first place. They disobeyed him. So they are going to lead people in that same way to break the commandments. You don't have to tell the truth. You can tell a lie. You can kill someone if they hurt, if you don't like them. All these things that people know will become wicked because they're incapable of choosing between right and wrong, because the machines are dictating to them what they should do. They're dependent on the machines to think for them. This is my best friend. I will do whatever my best friend, because what these machines, because this is what the devils do, you know. They want you to form an alliance with them. And to prove your alliance with them, they say you're going to have to do this to prove that you love me. This is how they work. And this is why you see the wicked ones today, when they're doing their rituals, they have to do these rituals. They have to perform these rituals, which always involves some form of murder or what have you, drinking of blood and eating of human flesh, what have you, to prove their alliance to the devils that they're serving. And it's no different with AI. And because these little ones now are growing up without going to church or have some sort of spiritual upbringing, they're open season for demonic possession. They become open to suggestions, evil suggestions. Artificial intelligence virtual. You see the hand and the human hand, the machine hand and the human hand, touching, merging to become one. This world of AI will lead mankind down the darkest path ever walked before. So dark that anyone who starts down this path will hardly be able to find their way back to the light again. You see, all around it, darkness. Darkness. And you see that light there? That's artificial light. This hand, what they're suggesting here, this hand, when you connect with the machine, will produce some form of light. Remember, Satan is the angel of light. And that's the only light that he can produce, is artificial light. Let's see where we left off. Therefore, it is important to not even go down this path in the first place, the path of darkness. Once you start down this path, loving technology, you're not going to be able to find your way back out again. Artificial intelligence, just as it sounds, is here to replace our intelligence and to cause us to depend on it for our daily lives. It is already happening as the younger generations are growing up with this evil trend and do not know how else to implement their own intelligence. This is the result of schools introducing children to the world of computers and its related components, which will be AI. Now university students are using AI, ChatGPT, like never before to help them to prepare their work. And we will look more at this ChatGPT later on. As mankind becomes more and more dependent on AI, it will then be used to control every aspect of our lives if we let it. Many people will comply as they will not know any other way. Just like the little girl and Moxie. Let's look at the book of Yewakanan, the book of John, chapter 15, verse 4. Abide in me, meaning dwell in me, and I in you. This is Hamashiach speaking to his disciples, all who have ears to hear. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine, no more can you except you abide in me. You can't bear fruit outside of Hamashiach. You got to abide in Hamashiach in order to bear fruit spiritually. I am the vine, you are the branches. He that abides in me and I in him, the same brings forth much fruit. For without me, you can do nothing. You can't live in this life. You can't live in this world with AI and think that you're going to be productive and you're going to be successful. Listen, you may be successful, but you're not going to be productive. You're going to be very unhappy. Very, very, very unhappy. If a man abide not in me, he is cast forth as a branch and is withered, and men gather them and cast them into the fire, and they are burned. Our dependence must always be on Yahweh and Hamashiach. So if we are dependent on a machine, on technology, let's give it the complete title, technology. Because all of the above is under the umbrella called technology. If you are dependent on technology to live, then you are incomplete. And not only that, you will become an abomination. All right? You will become an abomination because technology is going to rob you of your humanity and it's going to force you to compromise yourself. Just like I've explained before. All right? So our dependence must always be on Yahweh and Hamashiach. We must dwell in Hamashiach. He is the vine. The Father is the husbandman. It is the Father that prunes us. We're the branches. So we got to plug into the Son in order to bear fruit. In order to be fruitful in our lives, to be able to converse with one another, in order to love, to have joy and peace. All of these things are the fruit that comes from Hamashiach. You can't get joy from a machine. You will not be able to have love, get love from a machine. It comes only from Hamashiach, through him, from the Father, through him to us. And then from us to one another. No other way. So now we're going to look at this AI generated people, or AI people generated. How do you know that the person you're looking at on the screen is real? Talking about television screen or computer screen or what have you. How do you know they're real? You hear about a big situation happening in Miami or where have you, and you see a mugshot of a person. How do you know that person is real? Oh, because there were interviews and people were talking about the situation and so on and so forth. So therefore it must be real. You saw the policemen and all the cars. You don't know where that footage came from. That footage could have been taken, could have been done years before, and they just kind of plugged it in. They have technology now, they can do all of that. I remember back in the days when, in 2020, when they were showing the hospitals being full with people because of the fake thing that was going around. You know what I'm talking about. People came forward and said, well, wait a minute, those were drills that we kept, that we held in that particular hospital a couple years prior. But people thought because they were showing it on television that it was happening in that particular time. A lot of lies. The mainstream media are all owned by these people, and they're full of lies. And they know how to set up a scenery because they have Hollywood at their disposal. So you can't believe everything that you see on television. The only person that you can believe is the Most High. And he will tell you, look for the markers that will tell you whether it's real or not. All right. Now, can you tell which of these people in the pictures are real and those who are not? Will you be surprised to learn that none are real? They are all computer generated by AI. Every single one of these are fake. And yet, if you look at them, you will think that they're real. They're not real. Not one of them are real. And if you saw this person, any of these people, their mugshot as the person that was just gunned down, or what have you, whatever tragedy that they're trying to pull your heartstrings about, concerning, you believe it because they look real. Because they look real. But these are all computer generated people. AI. Generated by AI. Notice the caption below. Fake faces created by AI look more trustworthy than real people. You see that? These are all fake. You see, even I have children there too. Look, child there, child here. All fake. This one looks like a teenager. This one too. This one's an older man. So they can generate any size, any age, any gender, what have you. Race, whatever they want to generate. They're all fake. And they can say, well, there was a disaster that happened in the nursery, and this little kid got killed, and this other little kid got killed, and all of a sudden people get angry. Oh, we should take away the guns and blah blah blah. You know, all because they show this sweet little picture here and this other little picture here. You ever notice with all those tragedies that happen in schools and what have you, you never see the person live? They either kill themselves or the police off them. They never are interviewed to ask, why did you do this? Why? Because they're not real. That's why. They're not real. All these tragic events that you see happening, not real. And they can create images of people to make you think, oh yeah, this poor person. And then they have the people that are being interviewed. They're called crisis actors, by the way. And we'll talk about that later on. All right? They know how to pull out a Hollywood production so expertly that will make people either angry, frustrated, afraid, what have you, whatever negative emotion that they want to provoke in people. They know how to do it because they've been studying us for a very long time, and they know how to manipulate us using psychology. You sure babies being taken down? Oh yeah, people will get angry. All right, let's read on. If you saw any of these faces on the internet or television, will you be prone to believe that they are real? How then are we to trust who we're looking at on the screen? Or worse yet, the stories of varying slaughterings done at high schools and even the kindergartens, like the nurseries and what have you. How do we know that they're real? I leave that for you to think on, to ponder on. This is how they've been using the technology against us to make us think something is real when it is not. Okay? Let's move on. Now, if you saw this picture with a tragic story, you will believe it because this image and this picture looks real. Not to mention the mainstream medias that carry the story will convince anyone that the tragic event is real. If you look at her, you'll think this is real. All right? Well, this has been the way of the world with the people with guns in schools using them against students and teachers. If you have noticed that each and every event either ends with the person or persons offing themselves or the police took them down. They never make it to jail or a court to hear their explanation of why they did what they did. Not that we need an explanation, but all that we see of these people are their mugshots, just like this one on the left, just like her or it. How do we even know that the images in the pictures are real? This is not to minimize the tragic loss, if there were any. But today we have to question everything and not allow our heartstrings to be pulled by the mainstream media and the people that they interviewed. Many of these people who are interviewed are crisis actors, and they appear in many of these so-called tragedies. And yes, they are called crisis actors, a conspiracy theory. Sorry, let me read that again. And yes, they call crisis actors a conspiracy theory. Therefore, you know for a fact that they do exist. You will no longer find any information concerning this evil, as they have taken down every video except their own. I remember back in the day when I used to do a lot of these I used to do all kinds of studies. When I say studies, I mean research and whatnot. And I came across this one called Crisis Actors. I never heard about it before in my life. And this guy was so good at picking out people from different tragic events that happened, that were being interviewed, and show you that they are the same people. They were the same people, but wearing different hair color, or maybe if it was a man wearing a beard or what have you, but the ears, he would measure the ears and say, this is the same person. Ears do not lie, just like your fingerprint cannot lie. Can't find anything like that anymore. And if you go and you look up crisis actors, you're going to see that it's called a conspiracy theory. Anything that they call a conspiracy theory is the truth. All right? Just know that. Anything that they call a conspiracy theory is the truth. They have to debunk it and call it that because it is the truth. All right? You can no longer trust your eyes or your ears or even your heart if you're not in the truth, the real truth from Alahayam Yahweh. Satan is the father of lies and deception. Therefore, it will go without saying that the Nephilim will also operate in lies and deception. And there are always such elaborate plots of catastrophic destruction, with the propaganda machine doing its part to ensure these stories are believable. Let us not forget false flag events. Now, I'm not going to get into all of that, but that is also part of the AI, the technology age that we're living in. False flag. They can create a false flag event because they have the technology in place to do so. And not only the technology, but they have the right people in place too. All right. So let's look at Yohanan chapter 8 verse 44. Book of John chapter 8 verse 44. You are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaks a lie, he speaks of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. And that's why Nephilim and their children are all children of lies. They are liars. And for the record, if I didn't say it, this here is an artificial intelligence image. This is a person generated by AI. She is not real. This creature here, this thing here, this image here is not real. This was conjured up using AI. All right? So you see how easily we can be fooled? Very easily. So let's go back to resurrecting the dead. We looked at this earlier. And this is without the power of Alahayam Yahweh. So we know that Hamashiach, not only did he raise the dead, but he also gave his disciples the power to be able to do the same. And now they want us to think that we can resurrect the dead without the power of Alahayam Yahweh. And we know that's evil power and there's no such thing. That's why they need to use AI to do this. Let's look at this. I don't know if you've heard of this, but they're planning in the near future to bring back these old famous artists, whether they were um, singers, whatever performance they used to do. They want to bring them back. If you notice here, Robert Kardashian, you know who he's the father of. Those boys that dress up like women. All of them are boys. Oh, yes. And don't tell me because they have long hair and wear makeup that means that they are females. They're not. That's the biggest joke on people out there, that especially men lusting after those creatures. Stop lusting after women. In fact, stop lusting altogether. They have been groomed from the baby pods that they were created in. And anyone that you see in front of the screen and given all that spotlight and position and what have you, they are not straight. They're the opposite of who they really are. The greater majority of them, not all of them, but the greater majority of them, and especially those so-called sisters, quote unquote, the Kardashians, every single one of them are men. All right? If you doubt me, look at the stepfather that converted itself from man to a woman, to look like a woman, because it's not a woman. All right, there you go. Then we have Audrey Hepburn, John Lennon, Tupac. Oh, you know, a lot of people, especially our brethren, run after this one. Y'all need to stop going after these gangsters. That's what they are. Give them a couple of dollars and a hit single or what have you, and all of a sudden they become your idol. Look at this one. Just because he might look Negro and he might be famous and what have you, that don't mean that you got to go run after it. These people are sellouts. He was a sellout, right? All of them, you know, all of them that look like us are sellouts. So they're not of us. They came from us, but they might have come from us, some of them. Because a lot of them might not be from us. Just because they're Negro looking doesn't mean that they are of us. But the ones that are of us that sold out, they're no longer our brethren. And you need to turn your eyes and your ears off of these people because they're there to lead you away from the light. That's why they sing a lot of nonsense. In fact, they don't even sing. They rap about a lot of garbage. And they pull down women. Even though this one, I don't know if this one came from a woman. This one could have come from a pod too. Whatever. All right? But any person, any man are rapping and destroying the showing disrespect towards women is not worth listening to, because it was a woman that brought him into this world. Unless he came from a pod, a woman brings forth children, whether males or females, who become men and women, and they should be respected, just like the fathers do. Don't get me wrong. But when you see them calling the women hoes and what have you, and disrespecting women, why are you listening to them? You need to get away from them. Bad influence. I never liked rap. I would never like rap. Well, I shouldn't say never liked it, because back in the day when I was growing up, we had you see the old-fashioned rap, which was more palatable compared to this garbage that they sing, that they rap today. Utter nonsense. I forgot the names of them. That was so long ago. That's back in the 80s. All right. Then you have Carrie Fisher. This one was from Star Wars. And this one, Edith Piaf, there's a French singer from the 30s or 40s or something like that. And you have from the Beatles, the Beatle Man. He looked like a Beatle too, right? And it's Audrey Hepburn. So there's talk of bringing back dead celebrities to perform in whatever activity they were famous for. They are now offering this technology to people who would like to speak to their dead relatives as a hologram image using AI technology to impersonate the person's voice. So that's the reason why they are introducing the technology to bring back dead loved ones, because this is the ultimate. They want to bring back all these famous people because they know that these people had a big influence on many people in this world. And if they can bring them back, they can use them to influence foolish people in the manner in which they want them to be influenced. All right? That's why he said, don't fall in love with nobody except the Most High. And certainly don't fall in love with technology. Technology is rotten to the core. We use it until we are ready to be taken out of here, and that's it. It's rotten. They claim that it will help with the grieving process, which is all a lie. This is nothing more than necromancy, as we well know that Nephilim spirits inhabit AI in all of its wicked forms, including all the technologies created by these evil creatures. Anything to do with this technology is in fact conjuring up evil spirits imitating dead loved ones, which they are able to do. So they're able to use the AI to conjure up, and if the technology is speaking to the one who has lost their loved ones, it is actually an evil spirit. That is necromancy. Sorry, didn't mean to move that yet. That is necromancy. All right. And we have to be careful because these creatures are introducing their technology, but at the same time leading us into the ways of becoming, or leading us to become, abominations. Whatever abominable thing they want us to do, that is what they are using AI, using their technology to do. All right? It is for this reason why we have to be very careful with dreams, especially if a dead loved one is in your dream. You know how some people are like, oh, I had a dream that God said this and this and this and that, and they just take off. All right? And sometimes they see a dead person, someone that a loved one that, they see them in their dream, they think that it is that same person. Well, the person is dead and gone. The spirits have been removed to go to whatever dwelling place. There are only two dwelling places that a spirit can go to, that the dead person can go to. So they're not going to come back in your dream, but what you are seeing in your dream is representative of something, or it is an evil spirit. All right. They are called familiar spirits because they come to us in a familiar form to deviate us from the path of righteousness. So you have a dream about your mom that had passed away, and she's telling you to do something that you know you're not supposed to do. That's an evil spirit that is presenting itself as your mom. That's why it's called a familiar spirit, because it's familiar to you. And that's why we have to be careful with our dreams. All right? And the so-called visions that these Christians out there are having. Now, these AI images will be a necromancer to anyone who indulges in such practices. Because all of a sudden now you can conjure up your mother, and you're used to asking your mother, okay, mom, should I go and buy this new dress? Blah, 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 what have you. You're taking your advice now from this AI technology. And then it gives you an answer. Darling, you know how I feel about you. You do it. You deserve it. Right? So it's giving you permission to go buy that new dress. I'm just using this as an example. It could be something severe. It could be something like minor. All right? Whatever it is, you're going to them, you're going to this machine to get an answer. So you're using it like a necromancer, which is an abomination. Alahayam Yahweh warned us about this. Notice that witchcraft and wizards are always grouped together with a person who has a familiar spirit, which is a necromancer. All right? Stay away. Don't be blown away by the technology. Oh, Tupac. They're having a concert for Tupac. So I'm going to go and buy the tickets. The tickets cost $500 each. In fact, that's the lowest price for a ticket because we're going to see Tupac. Tupac is back from the dead. And the foolish ones go and take their hard-earned money and buy tickets to see a dead person that's not even here. An image of a dead person. And it's actually a demon. Unbelievable. So the creepy technologies bringing dead celebrities back to life. So I only included this picture again because of the headline. All right? They call them creepy technologies, and that's exactly what they are. Creepy. I would not want to, as much as I love my mother, all right? I wouldn't want to see an AI generated image of her for her to come and talk to me. Good grief. I will have nightmares. Unbelievable. No, let her rest in the grave. Hopefully, we will see each other soon. All right? Hopefully, we will see each other soon. At the end of the age. At the beginning of the 1,000-year reign. All right? Because that's when our dead loved ones who were believers of Alahayam Yahweh will return, will be resurrected at the beginning of the 1,000-year reign. So that's all right. Let them remain dead. Okay, let's move on. They shall grow old. How AI is bringing back celebrities like Diana or Kurt Cobain from the dead. So this is supposed to be Lady Diana that had died, but this is what she would have looked like today. Doesn't she look like a man? Hint, hint. And then this is Kurt Cobain from Nirvana. Remember, he died 27 years old. He's part of the 27, you call them the 27 Club. I think that's what they're called, 27 Club. Because there are a whole bunch of people, yes, they're called the 27 Club. A whole bunch of people that die at 27 years old. People like Jimi Hendrix and Jim Morrison and all these different ones all died at 27. So they call them the 27 Club. There's a reason for it. That's a sacrifice, okay? All right. They claim that he offed himself because he was bored with success and he didn't know how to deal with success. He was into drugs and all these different things. Oh my goodness. They can create such a story behind people that is unbelievable. But here, this looks like a man, doesn't it? A man with, well, doesn't it look a little bit like Rod Stewart? That's exactly what it looks like. But Lady Di is no lady, that's for sure. Lady Di was not a lady. Anyways. All right, let's move on. To explain what a necromancer is, or someone who exhibits a familiar spirit, is in reference to people who conjures up spirits of dead people for their relatives to talk to. This familiar spirit will speak through the host, which is the fortune teller, or the psychic, or the medium, or the spiritualistic practitioner, and that's what they call themselves. All right, they call themselves either a medium or a psychic, what have you. They're devil worshippers. All right, so they hold something called a seance to conjure up the familiar spirit. This is evil in the eyes of Alahayam Yahweh, as the spirits that come forth are not the spirits of the dead loved ones, but evil spirits that pretend to be the dead loved one. It is for this reason why he made strict commands concerning these kinds of people. They are, after all, witches or warlocks or wizards. All right? So let's look at Leviticus chapter 19, verse 31. Regard not them that have familiar spirits, neither seek after wizards to be defiled by them. I am Yahweh Alahayam. And then we look at Leviticus chapter 20, verse 6. And the soul that turns after such as have familiar spirits and after wizards to go a whoring after them, I will even set my face against that soul and will cut him off from among his people. Then we drop down to verse 27 of that same chapter. A man also, woman that have a familiar spirit, or that is a wizard, shall surely be put to death. They shall stone them with stones. Their blood shall be upon them, meaning that no one will be held accountable for their deaths, because this is a justified death. All right? The blood is on their shoulders because they committed an abomination, and Alahayam had to put it out. So all of this here that they want to do is an abomination. Okay. Alahayam Yahweh is very clear about what he said about necromancy and necromancers. And here the Nephilim children have created the very same abomination, but call it technology. They call it AI. It is the same as if a person has familiar spirits, because its function is to wrought wickedness before Yahweh, to break his commandments, to break his instructions. Whatever he says not to do, they want to do. It's pure wickedness. Now, why on earth would anyone be interested to see these creatures after they've died? They've been dead for a long time. All right? So now we're going into, again, about raising up the dead relatives. I actually had a conversation with Dad. The people using AI to bring back dead relatives, including a plan to harvest DNA from graves to build new clone bodies. I'm telling you, see, there's no limitation to the evil that these people will do. Okay, they want to show a hologram or AI generated image of the dead person, and now they go another step. They want to harvest DNA to create an actual clone body. Let's look at this. What this creature here, this person is saying. Kurzweil's attempt to bring back his father, who died when Kurzweil was 22. He was 22 years old when his father died. Using AI began more than 10 years ago and are chronicled this year in a comic book by Kurzweil's daughter Amy. Kurzweil created a replicant of his father by feeding an artificial intelligence system with his father's letters, essays, and musical compositions. He now has even more ambitious plans to bring his father back to life using nanotechnology and D-N-A- from his father's buried bones. Now, I use the word D-N-A-. I hope these people don't flag this video. I'm going to try to get it out, edit it out, because these people are crazy. I'm not joking. They're crazy. Any little word, they call it medical misinformation. But let's read on. People are using, so he wants to go to the grave and take his father's stuff to recreate him. Now, people are using AI chatbots to bring dead people back to life. And then we have here Ray Kurzweil plans to rebuild his father's body from the grave using D-N-A. All right? And then you have read more. I use the digital afterlife service so I can live on afterlife. So no, you can even because they have, it seems like they have a system set up where you can live after death in the sense that you can have like allow them to record your voice and what have you, right? So that after you've passed on, then your loved one can bring you back, resurrect you, so to speak. But no, it is now becoming more of a trend in the sense that um, if you know that you're dying, you can go and set this thing up. That's what they're doing. Oh my goodness. Can artificial intelligence really summon dead relatives back from beyond the grave? No, they cannot. It's all demonic activity. All demonic activity. So again, resurrecting dead loved ones with AI is already a thing. A documentary premiering at Sundance Film Festival follows the sometimes heartwarming, sometimes harrowing world of Thanabots. So what these wicked Nephilim children are doing is to remove the human factor and instill AI in its place. Meaning, when we lose someone we love, we mourn and we grieve for them, and even with time, we get over that grief. For some people, it is sooner rather than later, as there are some people who deny themselves the process of grieving, thus prolonging it. Some people can't forgive, or if the other person died if the other person died because, okay, let me give you a perfect example. Two people had an argument, one dies. I mean, they loved each other, but they had an argument, one dies. Then that other person that is still alive feels guilty because the last image or the last memory that they had with this person was before they died was that of anger, and you had angry thoughts towards that person, what have you. So they have a hard time forgiving themselves, and that prolongs the grief. I know this even from family members. That has happened. It has happened in my family, right? They don't want to forgive, and when the person dies, then it's too late to seek forgiveness. And then they have this chapter in their lives that cannot be closed because of unforgiveness. Now, however, when you come into the knowledge of Alahayam Yahweh and He comes into your life, you can close that chapter. In fact, He can close that chapter for you. He can bring peace and allow that chapter to be closed. But without Him, there are many people out there with chapters of their lives unclosed because of unforgiveness. Whether it was done to them or they did it to someone else, it doesn't matter. It is still unforgiveness. And you can't move on because of unforgiveness. And worse yet, if you say that you're in relationship with Alahayam Yahweh and you do not seek forgiveness through Alahayam, then your relationship with Alahayam Yahweh will suffer. All right? It will suffer. All right, let's move on. Eventually, the lack of grieving will lead to bitterness and even anger and any other negative emotion that the evil spirits will evoke if grieving is not dealt with appropriately. It is for this reason why this AI interference will cause people to be stagnant in their grief, not going forward or backward, but continuously live in complete denial by accepting an alternative to grief. They are denying their human right to be in sorrow and replacing it with an AI coping mechanism, which is in fact necromancy. So let's look at Bara'ashaya chapter 23 3, verse 2. That's Genesis chapter 23, verse 2. And Sarah died in Kirjatharba. And the same is Hebron in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. So there has always been death, even amongst our people. They get old, they die, they fall in battle, what have you, they die. And the human part of it is for us to mourn, to grieve, to cry, to weep over them. And then we move on. But with this artificial intelligence, it will not allow you to do that. After death comes eternal life if we live for Yahweh. And that's the one hope that we have. That yes, for now we will miss our loved ones, but if they die in righteousness and we are in righteousness, then we will see them again. All right? But it is only natural to weep over the one that you love, that has gone, that have passed away. How AI is helping people cope with the loss of their loved ones. This is the last slide, don't worry. I'm just showing you, these people are really, really doing a number on us. Losing a loved one is one of the most painful experiences that anyone can go through. The grief and longing can last for years, and sometimes it feels like there's no closure or comfort. That was the word I was looking for earlier, closure. You know, closing the chapter, closure. But what if you could still talk to your deceased relative, hear their voice, and see their face? I know they're saying thanks to the advancements of AI, you can now do that. Absolutely ridiculous. We need to be able to grieve. We need to be able to feel the pain. All right? Dead people do not feel pain. Dead people will not grieve. So as long as you're alive and bad things happen, you will feel the pain. Because it's telling you that you're alive. But it's how you cope with the pain. It's how you cope with the tragedy. All right? And if you don't cope with it, if you deny it, you will suffer tremendously in the end. And especially if you go after their AI garbage, then you become an abomination before Alahayam Yahweh. Well, you got bigger problems down the road. All right? Now, I was supposed to include this in the last study, but I'll say it here and we'll look at this briefly and then we're going to move on to the next set of slides. Merging mankind with machine. We talk about the cyborgs, you know, like the Borgs, how they were trying to make us half human, half machine, hybrids, all right? How they are transforming mankind from the inside in order to link with technology, and it has already started. So we know that it's already started when they used the toxin, because there's stuff in the toxin. So let's look at this here. Now, I came across this video by this woman, an interview by this woman called Anna Maria Milhasia. I don't know if that pronounced correctly, but she's a doctor and she's supposed to be a whistleblower. I think she used to work with one of those big pharma groups. All right. And she's talking about hydrogel interfaces for merging humans and machines. And this is MIT Research Review. All right. So we had a look at this in the last study, merging man with machine to create a hybrid. This is how they're doing it. All right. So in the bodies of those who took the toxin are those mysterious filaments filling up the vessels. When they're talking about vessels, they're talking where the blood flows through. All right, of people who were either operated on because they were having some sort of blockage and the doctors went in and pulled out this length of filament, okay, or had died and they were removed. This will be the network to connect all the components to create the hybrid called cyborgs. All right, so this is how they're going to connect. This is the wiring. All right, that is flowing through the body, and then it's going to connect with the brain. Whatever chip they put in the brain, it's all going to be connected there. So this is how they're going to do it. It's called hydrogel. And then we have here again the DARPA. We know what that stands for. That was in the last study. And this again, the same woman, Anna Maria. And then she's talking about the brain-computer interface, the quantum computing of consciousness, and the humanoid avatar. So let's look at what all this means. So before we move on, let's look at the what DARPA is doing. It's called Next Generation Non-Surgical Neurotechnology, and that's the triple N program that they're planning for us. You'll find interviews with this whistleblower on BitChute. So you go on BitChute, plug in her name, and you should find a couple of interviews. You wouldn't find it on the boob tube, all right? You're not going to find it there because they have censored, they're heavily censoring truth on this platform. As with a computer with its components, so it will be for the cyborgs. It will need a brain computer, and this is where the neural dash link, you know who that was created by, that Musk guy, will come in. Remember what an avatar is. So she spoke about an avatar, humanoid avatar. So according to Merriam Dictionary, an avatar is an incarnation of a Hindu deity, an incarnation in human form, an embodiment of a concept, philosophy, or a person. In other words, you are going to be possessed. All right? You change yourself. Alahayam, Yahweh is going to remove himself, remove his ruach, and then you are free. You're free and open to be possessed by demon spirits. A person will become a Hindu deity when they merge with technology because they will become possessed by evil spirits. You see what they're leading us to? All right, let's move on from here. We looked at that last time. So now this is another thing that we have to be so careful of, that what you look at on the screen is not always necessarily who you're looking at. This is called deepfake technology. Who you see is not always who you're looking at. Or let me read that again. Who you see is not always who you think you're looking at. This is some serious business. All right, let's look at this one here. So this is the real person. This here is the deep fake. Now I can't tell the difference except that the smile here. All right, but we'll see it in another slide how it's really, it could really like fool you into thinking that you're looking at a particular person when it is deep fake. So what is deep fake? Deep fake is an image or recording that has been convincingly altered and manipulated to misrepresent someone as doing or saying something that was not actually done or said. Believe it or not, they're selling this, and this is from Merriam-Webster Dictionary. I put it in the wrong place. I should have put it earlier. Believe it or not, they're selling this technology as an app, as a fun thing to do, to change your face to that of someone else. Now, this is not according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary. That was placed in the wrong position. Should have been up here after the words said. There's even an app which allows you to edit your photos to look like a cartoon or to merge it with an animal or some crazy graphics. This people use as they think that it is all fun and games. But what are the serious repercussions of this technology? People are being desensitized to the fact that photo images can be altered. Back in the day, a photograph was not possible to alter until digital cameras came into being. A photograph was a paper that once was exposed to the negative could not be altered. But thanks to the world of technology, where we can now take a picture and change or enhance our image to look nothing of ourselves. So thanks to technology that we can do that now. I remember there were pictures of some women, they made themselves look quite sensuous. And when you see the actual picture of the person, They look nothing like the so-called photo that they had presented as themselves. This is what technology can do. This is dangerous if we really think about it. But today no one is really thinking with brain cells anymore, only with AI. That's why they have AI thinking for them. People cannot think outside the box anymore. They can use this technology to incriminate anyone they choose to, along with the fact that they have access to every alphabet agency to make false charges stick. But we need not to fear what these devils can do, because Alahayam, Yahweh, can and will overthrow their evil plans against his chosen. Excuse me. We cannot and will not be taken out, because Alahayam, Yahweh, has promised us that he will regather us alive to be with him forevermore. So once you know that you're going to be regathered by Alahayam, Yahweh, these devils can come lying to you through their teeth. Don't believe them. With their threats, on deception, or what have you, don't believe them. Right? Because they're more afraid of you than you should be of them. But they come with threats, empty threats. Remember, Satan is like a roaring lion. But we also have the lion of the tribe of Yahweh, whose roar can take him down. When the lion of the tribe of Yahweh begins to roar, that roaring lion that was once Satan becomes nothing. It has to tuck its tail in and run for the hills. And this is the reason why we need to have him in our lives always, so that he can roar through us. He said, don't be afraid of the one that can destroy both your soul and your spirit, your flesh and your spirit, or your flesh and your soul. Don't be afraid of these devils. They come with a lot of empty threats. A lot of them. Matthew chapter 24, verse 30. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to another. So did he say he's coming to collect dead people? No, he's coming to collect living people from one end of the earth, from one end of the heaven to another. So if you're chosen of Alahayam, Yahweh, and you're part of the remnant, there's nothing that these devils can do to take you down or take you out. All right, let's look at this, how they do this now. So you see how they can extract a face and put it on a body using technology, or take out her face and put her face on another body, whatever they want to do. And this is what they did here. This is the original. This is who this guy is. So he wanted to look like Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks. Oh my goodness, that's not Tom Hanks. Oh my goodness, that guy from Mission Impossible. Tom Cruise. Yes, Tom Cruise. So he took out his face and planted the face of Tom Cruise perfectly in his body, on what would be his body. And what it produces is this here. It's called deep fake. So anybody look at this would think that, hey, that's Tom Cruise, when in fact it is this guy. So he can show this picture to anyone to say, hey, I met Tom Cruise. Here's proof. When in fact it is him. Lots of lies you can do with this thing called deep fake. Can you truly trust who you're looking at on the screen to believe that it is who they say they are? Looking at these examples on the left and the right may look crude, but trust me, they have this technology perfected by now. What they are revealing to us is at least 50 years behind what they already have. How can you trust a person that is supposed to be interviewed by the media after a tragic event? No, crisis actors will not have to use makeup anymore, because they can use deepfake to change their looks from one tragic event to another. You just need to be a body to show up at a particular interview, and then we'll do the rest in the computer lab. All right? I remember some years ago, a channel used to look at crisis actors and was able to place them at various locations. He was able to measure their ears, as ears are like fingerprints, no two alike, using his own measuring tool, and made this surprising discovery. Needless to say, such channels do not exist anymore. Even channels that expose transformers. Transformers are people that are supposed to be male, but they present themselves as female and vice versa. We call them transformers, all right? They are taken down time and time again because they do not want us to know the truth. So I know there were a couple of those people. There was this one particular guy that I used to watch a lot of, and that's how I learned about this transforming business. He taught me a lot. He said, look at the shoulders, look at the size of the head, all these different points he would say, the Q angle, all these things he taught me, right? This is how I learned. And this guy had so many channels taken down to the point now that people would upload his videos. They downloaded his videos and upload them to BitChute. You can find them there. I think he's called Mr. E. I know some people may have a love-hate relationship with him, but I learned a lot from watching him about these transformers before I knew anything about it. It's not with just him, but there were others as well that I've watched. But it's just so fun. It's so funny that all of them looked at the same people, and they're different different people with channels from different walks of life, and they're looking at the same people and say, "Hey, this is not right because this is supposed to look like a female, but it's actually a male, and here's the reason why." So I don't look at one channel. I look at many different kinds of information. I look at various points of view in order to draw my own conclusion. All right? Don't ever take anyone's person's opinion as gospel, as the truth. Look at it from different angles. Right? And then go to Alahayam Yahweh and allow him to show you how to put it all together to come to your own conclusion from him and from him alone. So yeah, they took down his channel time and time again. Every time he comes up with a channel, they take it down. But I think I've seen him on BitTube. I can't remember what, because after a while you just kind of like, okay, I've gotten the hang of it. I know what to look for, and I don't need to see anything more. Right? I've seen enough, because there's only so much you can take. Even with this study, there's only so much you can take, and then it's like, okay, I'm full. Right? I don't need to know anymore. And that's why I say to you, pray before you watch these videos, especially these particular videos, because it's full of the wickedness of the Nephilim, right? So I get it. I understand it. All right. They have been lying to us for generations, and they have to keep the lies going until their empire and false messiah rises up. So this is the reason why they take down the video, they take down the channels and what have you, because the lies got to remain until enough people are convinced of the lies and will call people like myself a conspiracy theorist and ignore anything that I have to say. It's all right, because it's not for them. All right, so now we move on to ChatGPT. The ChatGPT is called the Chat Generative Pre-trained Transformer. It's funny that we were talking about Transformer before. Oh my goodness, this is a tool. So ChatGPT is an AI chatbot with natural language processing, NLP, that allows you to have human-like conversations to complete your various tasks. If you look at the icons on the left here, you will notice what this technology is used for. And it's not only that, trust me, it's used for a lot more. They're using this too for conjuring up the dead or resurrecting the dead, sorry. When you have customer service, this is what this looks like, customer service, to write a unique copy, like an essay or what have you, you know, like you're doing a thesis, what have you, you know, something for college or university, you can use it. You want to write a book, you can use it. Education, they're now using it in education, healthcare, language translation. I guess that's what this icon represents. This is university, or what you call education. Virtual writing assistant. This is healthcare right here. I think this is virtual writing assistant. I think so. I'm not sure. It's hard to see the image. And then we have the virtual writing assistant and much, much more. So if you look at the logo now, this is the logo that represents ChatGPT. You will notice that it resembles another familiar logo. This is the thing that struck me. I was looking at it, but it's like the Spirit said to me, Ruach HaKodesh said to me, take a closer look at it. And when I looked at it, I realized, oh my goodness, they're like interlocking triangles. All right? It's only because that they're curved that you can't really see it. But if you follow the lines, you will see that they are interlocking triangles. And it can be a little confusing if you try to follow, but that's what they are. They are interlocking triangles. But they have it drawn in such a way that you can't see it. But if you kind of look at it, but not really look at it, you'll see that they're actually two triangles interlocking each other. We've seen this logo before. All right? It's a six-pointed star. This is what this represents. It's a six-pointed star. Well, it's rounded. But because each of these, if you count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rounded parts represents six-pointed star, but it's rounded. And it's the same logo representing the same fallen angel. So the six-pointed star are two interlocking triangles that have a very significant meaning to the Nephilim and their children. Nothing is ever a coincidence when it comes to their signs and symbols that they have spreaded everywhere, not to show that they have taken over, but only for a short time, and soon their reign will be over. So that's why I say to you, always look at symbols and logos. Don't take anything for granted. Their symbols give you a clear picture that you need to know what they're all about. So let's look and see what they're all about. Remember this? This was in front of the CERN. This is Shiva, the dancing deity, Hindu god called Shiva. And it's dancing in a six-pointed star. And we know the six-pointed star is made up of two triangles interlocking with each other, similar to this one. And we have Shiva, Shakti, and Murugan. And we know this is the female here. The triangle pointed upward is the female. Sorry, is the male, sorry. Because Shiva is the male representing female energy. And this here is Shakti. This is female because it's pointed downwards. I guess each point here would be the two ovaries. And here would be you know what, right? So you put them together. You have the male and female together as one. And that's why the transformers, as we call them, male to female, female to male, they're transformers. They embody this theology, having both genders in one body, because they serve this God. This is not the Star of David. This here is representing this God called Shiva, which is the god, the Hindu god of destruction. So what does this have to do with ChatGPT? Because it's showing you who the God is behind this. Destruction. You understand now? Now, we looked at this in a couple other studies, so I'm not going to go through all this again, but I'm going to read what I have written here. All right, if you have time, you can pause it and you can read this to yourself. But I've done this before, okay? I just wanted to show you where the symbol, the logo for ChatGPT came from. Came from this. Shiva is the god of destruction. So what is this telling us about ChatGPT? If you think that this AI chatbot will be stopped here, think again. The ultimate plan is to make mankind into a cyborg possessed by evil spirits. And this is their way of introducing their plans in a more unoffensive way to get us to love their inventions. Beware, be aware. Excuse me. Be aware. You think it's only going to stop with a machine outside? They want to turn us into machines on the inward part. Because once we comply, then we become possessed by their devils, like this one. Now we're going to look at frankenfoods. I believe this is the last section. Yes, it is. It's the last section. You are what you eat. Now, Alahayam Yahweh gave instructions to Yashraal what is considered clean and unclean. This is another way how the Nephilim children are causing us to become an abomination to Alahayam Yahweh because of what they have been putting in our foods, on what they are being given us to eat, and what they want to give us to eat in the coming future. All right, let's look and see what they're doing. We have the Human Meat Project is not promoting cannibalism, it's conceptual art. I've never heard of such nonsense in all my days. Human meat. All right. Now they're saying, because this is what I was telling you about, eat celebrity meat. Bite Labs grows meat from celebrity tissue samples and uses it to make artisanal salami. So this is supposed to be the meat from your celebrity. They took a tissue and created it in a lab. Do you understand? And then they call it, oh, it's not cannibalism, it's conceptual. Unbelievable. This is an abomination. Burgers containing rat and human D-N-A- studies find. So a study of 258 burgers in the US finds unexpected additional and lack of ingredients. So this is what they found in a lot of burgers when they did a test. And there's a particular famous cheap restaurant, with the yellow arches, that this particular phenomenon, especially the human D-N-, and it wasn't just D-N-A-, there was actually meat. They found bits and pieces of teeth and hair fibers and what have you. Well, not hair fibers, but hair, right? And people still run to that place and eat it. You know why they run it? Because of, I watched a study about that particular restaurant. They use smell and sound to lure people in. All right? To lure people in. And the smell that you're smelling, it comes from enhancers. Once you start loving their food and you smell it, you can't resist it. You have to go and eat it. Remember back in the day, they did this one called Super Size Me? I watched that video. He said he would wake up in the wee hours in the morning, and the first thing that comes to his mind, I have to go and get a burger, or I have to go to the Golden Arches. It just called him. It was like a demon calling him, because that's exactly what it is. You're eating all this human stuff. You now are in danger of being influenced or possessed by devils. And that's why you can't resist it. And not to mention the taste enhancers that comes from the same human stuff. If you've never watched that movie, you should watch it. I think that it should still be around somewhere. Super Size Me. Unbelievable. Let's move on. So this here is a burger meat patty made from 3D printed. This is a 3D printed meat made out of lab grown stem cells. 3D printed meat is an edible rendering of a meat-like product created from an additive manufacturing process. In other words, chemicals. Chemicals. That's all they want to feed us, chemicals. Human meat and chemicals. We're going to move on to much more than that. This is what they want us to eat so that we become an abomination. All right? And they can do the same thing here with the human tissue and make it into a burger. Layer by layer, a 3D printed meat is constructed or scaffolded from a bio ink that extrudes out of a 3D printed nozzle. These protein-packed prints replicate the look and mouthfeel of conventionally farmed butchered meat down to a cellular level, to the point where they can be considered genuine meat by the Good Food Institute, while being highly customizable and slaughter-free. We have been slaughtering animals for generations. It is part of our custom, Yashra'al's custom, to slaughter animals, part of our sacrifices. And that's what we eat. And if it's not an abomination, if it's not a problem to Alahayam Yahweh, why is it suddenly not a problem? Oh, because it is interfering with the weather. It is causing crisis in the weather. No, it's not causing a crisis in the weather. The devils are causing the crisis in the weather. We've been eating meat for many generations and we haven't had any problems. We only started to have problems when their technology came into place. Came into place and came into play. It is their technology that is creating these problems. All these toxic fumes from the factories and the industries, that's what's causing problems. Not us eating meat. Not the toots and the burps of cows. No. Unbelievable. And people actually believe it. Now, this is the reason why the wicked ones are promoting a famine on the earth, as this will be the only reason why anyone will eat this garbage. People will be so hungry that they will be more than happy to eat their franken foods. As it is right now, people aren't interested in eating this. But get people to be hungry. You see, they will then like, okay, well, I don't have a choice but to eat it. However, like I said, those people that go underground, they're going to have their own little stores of real food. The Alahayam is going to help them with that. Because the southern kingdom will be gone when all this comes into play. And the northern kingdom, they're going to have to depend on Alahayam Yahweh as well. And especially the Gentiles. It's going to be worse for the Gentiles. But they got to be sifted. Sifted more so than we have been sifted, because they have been our captors. All right? They have been our captors. So this here now, we're looking at mealworm margarine oil, and they call it healthy fats new diet. According to the Washington Post on August 2016, mealworm margarine was right around the corner. Now today it is here to replace butter, which originally came from milk, which came from cows, or which comes from cows, because we're still producing butter and milk. Well, milk and then butter. because cows and other farm animals are creating a weather crisis on the earth and not the technologies being used to manipulate the weather. Oh no, it's not the HAARP. No, no, no. It is the farming or the farms that are creating these problems with the weather. Not to mention the various industries that have been polluting the air, water, and soils for generations. Oh, absolutely not. It all has to do with the eaters on the earth. They call us the eaters, who are eating natural foods given to us by Alahayam, that is creating this crisis. What a load of baloney. Bearing in mind that it has been shown that it will cost a lot more energy to generate these worm farms, to process them, to make them into foods, when already we have the processing plants in place for our real food. We have processing plants in place for chicken, to make chicken byproducts or cow byproducts, whether milk or cheese or what have you, butter. We already have that in place. But now to create a new industry, it's going to cost money, it's going to cost energy, which is counterproductive. It is useless compared to what they're claiming that we're doing by eating beef, drinking milk, eating cheese, eating butter. You understand the hypocrisy here? In order for them to be able to raise up enough mealworms to satisfy this entire earth, well, first of all, they're going to kill off a lot of people. Well, you got to go now and you got to transform regular farms into these mealworm farm. And there are already people doing it. And you got to know, build processing plants to turn it into flour, to turn it into margarine, turn it into snacks or what have you, burgers, what have you. You know how to build these things from the base up. When we already have all the processing plants in place already to do what to eat, to produce what we are already eating. But they want to destroy that to raise up this. And that's why a lot of processing plants for the last couple of years have been destroyed by fire. And that's why I have the question here. Is this why major processing plants have been mysteriously been burning down? Let us pause and think about this for a moment. Of course, that's the reason why. Destroy the major processing plants, the ones that process beef or milk or what have you to produce the foods that we eat, so that they can build up these new ones. And even if they can replace what was already burnt down, the fact that they have to produce so many mealworms is going to be consuming a lot of energy. A lot more energy than cows burping. Okay. One thing that we have to consider is the danger of eating insects, even if they are farmed. They will have parasites, worms, bacteria, and other dangerous pathogens. It doesn't matter even if they're farmed, they naturally carry these pathogens. All right? But they don't care about that. They want to give us garbage to eat because they want to get rid of us. Now we have here, sorry about that, hand touch thing again. I'm using a tissue to wipe my face with the, a little bit of perspiration. So my hand hit the mic. So sorry about that. Okay. Now Dutch researchers are studying how another bug, the mealworm, can be turned into a source of solid and liquid fats to replace margarine or vegetable oils. Mealworms could make a good fat source because they are relatively sustainable and easy to cultivate. No. You have to produce so much to produce a bottle of oil, to produce this jar, this container here of butter. And not just once, but continuously and for a lot of people. How is it going to be easy to sustain this? So mealworm margarine could be right around the corner. So this it's already here. It's already here. But the thing is that these insects that they want to feed us, they are going to have pathogens, parasites, bacteria, fungus, worms, all kinds of stuff inside of them. So when they process them, they claim they're high in proteins. All right? All right. In order to kill off the parasites, the pathogens, and what have you, you got to cook it very well. And when you do that, you lower the nutritional value of the product. So now you're eating something that has no nutritional value because you had to cook it long enough in order to kill off the pathogens. And if you don't cook it long enough, then the person that is going to eat it is going to be sick and even die. Unbelievable. Now, here's another one. Could grasshoppers really replace beef? We know that locusts are considered clean foods according to the Bible. As Yochanan the Baptizer, there is John the Baptizer, lived on locusts and honey. Because you know grasshoppers are locusts as well, right? And there are people today who still eat them, but people today are being forced into eating locusts out of manipulation and control. So it's one thing to say, well, I want to eat locusts or grasshoppers, whatever you want to call them, because these become locusts when they swarm. All right, they change for some reason. They change and they start to swarm and they become locusts. All right, so it's the same insect. And then we have crickets. Crickets are like almost like grasshoppers, but they're smaller and they make a whole lot of noise. But the whole idea is people in some countries eat these as delicacies. Well, they've been raised on eating those things. But today they want us to take away beef and chicken and fish and what have you and just eat this. This is ridiculous. Only eat grasshoppers. Well, the people that eat grasshoppers, they don't eat it morning, noon, and night. Okay, it's a delicacy. So a delicacy is something that you eat occasionally. All right, but I'm sure they're going to balance their diet with other meats, other products. But they want us to live on these things, on these insects, mealworms, grasshoppers, crickets, and what have you. Unbelievable. So we will be deprived of nutrition. I keep saying we because we're not going to be here. But people will be deprived of nutrition because you're going to have to eat a lot of these crickets and grasshoppers and locusts in order to get your daily requirement of protein. All right. So let us consider the fact that there are people who have shellfish allergies that will not be able to eat these insects. Apparently, these insects have an exoskeleton that is similar to shellfish. The substance in the shellfish is called chitin. And these have the exoskeleton is made up of the same ingredient, chitin. So anyone that has a shellfish allergy cannot eat these insects. And another thing too that I wanted to say, yes, Yochanan the Baptizer ate locusts and honey, but that was a diet given to him by Alahayam Yahweh. All right? But Alahayam Yahweh is not telling us to eat locusts and honey. It is these wicked ones that are trying to force us to eat the bugs. All right. All right. Because of shellfish, I have that worded weird, but because of shellfish, or because like shellfish, grasshoppers or locusts and crickets contain chitin, which is the substance found in their exoskeleton and can trigger a similar allergic reaction. Some allergic reactions can be fatal. Is this what they're hoping for to kill off people with the chitin? Another way to kill off the masses. I put nothing past them. They're trying to find various ways to kill us off. Now we're on to mealworms again, and how they have them here, selling them as like potato chips. This one here is Mexican spice cheddar cheese, barbecue flavor. Then we have here coconut flavor and cheddar cheese. Mealworms are edible for humans and processed into several insect food items in food retail. The most common ingredient made from mealworm is mealworm powder, sometimes called mealworm flour. So they want to replace flour now with mealworm. We have butter that is made from mealworm. We have oil made from mealworm. We're going to eat insects like grasshoppers, locusts, and crickets. And now they want us to use mealworm flour. So all through the entire diet will be made of insects, which you can buy as pure or flavored. You can add it to almost any food to give flavor and increase protein content. So you see, this is the selling point for these wicked people, protein. Oh, you can get a lot more protein along with parasites. And you're going to have to eat a lot of this stuff in order to get your daily requirement. Now we have mealworms, which is the larval form of the yellow mealworm beetle. It's a beetle in its larval form. They have turned this mealworm into flour and butter to replace wheat and any other grains that are used as flours. Their selling point is the amount of protein that is found in this insect. In fact, all of the insects are said to be high in proteins, which is to encourage us to want to use their frankenfoods. And by the way, frankenfoods, why I say frankenfoods, because remember Frankenstein, right? I call it frankenfoods because it's crazy science, crazy technology food, all right? So I call it frankenfoods. But are you persuaded? The gross factor concerning these frankenfoods are off the scale. If there was a genuine shortage of food, then possibly people may consider eating bugs for survival until real food is restored. But to permanently replace our food staples for insects is insane. You know, like people that were lost in the woods, they say you could eat certain bugs in order to survive until you're found. So be it. So be it. But you don't eat bugs 24/7. I wouldn't be 20, but you know how often you're eating food, but you don't eat it as your staple. And by the way, there are just certain of these insects that are unclean. Like this beetle, this mealworm, it's unclean. The only thing that is clean here are the grasshoppers. I'm not even sure about the crickets, but the grasshoppers, which are the form before it becomes a locust. All right? Let's read on. In 2020, they started to introduce these ideas with the use of their famous actors and actresses. I guess if the rich and famous can eat the bugs, then everyone should eat them gladly. And this is compliments of the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab. It's because of these creatures. And if you look at him, he looks like a bug himself. He looks like a beetle. Wicked, beyond wicked. I know he claimed that he stepped down from the chair of this WEF, but trust me, he's still behind the scene. But people are sick of him. So though he has to step down and put a new face there. That's what they do. But they're still working behind the scene. evil, wicked people that are pushing this agenda. All right? And this here, of course, you know who these people are. Well, this one here is Angelina Jolie cooked up a storm while promoting her latest film in Cambodia by eating bugs with her kids. The actress was seen frying a scorpion and eating the leg of a spider. Oh my goodness. Which she said had a really good flavor. Well, she will have to say that because she eats babies and drink their blood. I kid you not. So anything less than that would taste good. All right? These are creatures. This here is a man, you know. Don't think that this is a woman. Look at how long this arm is. This is the length. Women do not have long arms like this. This is the arm of a male. Look at all the veins popping out. You ever see a woman with veins popping out like that? That's because this is a hand of a man. Because this is a man. All right? Look at the shoulders. These are not the shoulders of a woman. These are shoulders of a man. Like I said, there are markers to show you who these people really are. And this is a transformer. All right? So, of course, it will eat the bugs because it is part of the agenda. Never liked this one. This one, from the time, this was back in the early 90s, I believe. Was it early 90s? No. Mid 90s when it received an award. And it had a passionate kiss because I think its brother gave it the award. And it gave the brother a passionate kiss in front of everyone. And from that moment, I did not care for this one. I would not watch any movies with this one. Even back in the day, back in the day, would not watch anything with this one. When I saw that, I was like, this is gross beyond gross. They're promoting incestuous relationship, especially knowing too that it's a man. This is a man here. And as it gets older, you're going to see it becoming even more grotesque. But look at the arms, though. Look at the arm there. Look at that. Look at that. All the veins popping out. And showing the little, these ones here, these are children that grow in a lab. All right? They grow in a lab. So, of course, they're going to eat what their mother, quote unquote, gave them to eat. Unbelievable. I'm telling you. All right, let's carry on. We're almost finished. Eating creepy crawlies have been long associated with the TV show I'm a Celebrity. I never watched that, so I don't know. If the eating of the bugs stopped at the clean insects, then so be it. But it will include other insects like scorpions, spiders, and even lake flies, to name a few, which are only to name a few. It can go on to lizards as well. Why not? Why stop at insects? Let's go on to reptiles, lizards, or other creepy crawlies. What is there to stop these Nephilim children? Praises to the Most High. He will be ending this soon and getting rid of all these creatures here. This is the next generation of creatures. These ones here that she called children. I don't know. I think this one is a child that was adopted because it adopted a lot of children too. But you see how it's smirking here, like, ooh, look at me. I'm really putting on a Golden Globe, a Golden Globe acting skills here. It doesn't look like she's enjoying it there, but barely trying to stifle a laugh. Like, yeah, we're fooling the foolish people that would actually believe this. I remember watching this during the big thing that happened in 2020. I remember watching this and I thought, well, good luck to you. You could eat it and you can give it to your children. But I would never eat this garbage. But it didn't come. I think at this point of time, they were just breaking the ice, slowly introducing the idea. All right? That's what they were doing, slowly introducing the idea, because that's what they have to do with humans. You slowly introduce the idea, and then later on, you're going to keep coming and keep coming. It's like boiling a frog. How do you boil a frog? You put it in cold water, put it on the stove, turn on the fire, put it on low heat, and soon as the water gets heated up, the frog would adapt and adapt and adapt until it's cooked. And you didn't even know that it's being cooked because it kept adapting. So that's how they treat us. They adapt, they cause us to adapt to their way of thinking. All right? That's the psychology behind them. Now we have these other ones here. We have, this is Robert Downey Jr., you know, that played that Iron Man. That's him there. He's being interviewed by this guy here. This here is Ramsey, the chef. This here is Nicole Kidman. Notice that his name ends with a man because this is another man here too. I kid you not. Giving the one eye signal, you see? Close one eye, open the other. This is what they are. This is a witch, by the way. They're both witches. This is Angelina here. They're both witches. They're all witches and warlocks at the end of the day, right? So I have a list here of people who are willing to eat bugs. And I think this one here Robert Downey Jr. invested in farms and whatnot because it feels so supportive of the earth, and it wants to end the crisis with the weather and all these different wonderful things it wants to do to promote good, healthy earth. So we have to eat the bugs. We have to eat bugs. Now, cricket flour is produced from freeze-fried crickets. The crickets, because that's another kind of flour too they're going to offer us, between mealworm flour and cricket flour. The crickets are then cooked to facilitate processing. They are pulverized into extremely fine bits after being cooked. The freezing, baking, and drying results in a powdered dark brown flour. So they can call it rye flour, right? So the prices can depend on location, but the average cost of cricket flour is around $40 per pound. That's 4,200 to 4,800 crickets. And it's for one person. Now, the price is inflated due to limited commercialization and few processors. All right. Pulverized, freeze-dried crickets are used in processed food products such as pasta, bread, cookies, snacks like chips and nachos, and smoothies. Now, cricket flour can be utilized as a complete replacement for flour. The taste is described as very nutty, and foods normally prepared with wheat flour may cook differently. Unbelievable. This is what they want us to eat. All right, so these are the list of the names: Robert Downey Jr., Nicole Kidman, Gordon Ramsay, Salma Hayek, Justin Timberlake, Zac Efron, and others. They're made famous for this purpose. You see, this is the reason why they are the actors and actresses, because now they're going to play the biggest role in their lives on the world stage. All right? This is what they were raised up for and why they were made famous. Because when we see famous people that we think are, people to look up to, and they're suggesting to do these things, then we want to do them too. Because hey, my idol says this, and so I'm going to do this too. Or they do that, I want to do it too. This is the reason why they were raised up and made famous. Now, I remember this a long time ago, this company, yogurt company, and they had on the listing of ingredients something called carmine. This is carmine here. It's not real strawberry. It's actually a bug. All right. It's like a beetle. And they grind it up. And it even have the crunch factor of, when you eat a strawberry, it has the tiny little seeds. So when people were crunching, they thought they were eating strawberry seeds, but it's actually this here, carmine. But it's actually the byproduct is called carmine, but the beetle is called something else. I think it's called, forgot what it's called here. It's listed here. All right. And this is on YouTube, so you can go and check this out. But I remember years ago when this came out. If you think it's fruit that colors strawberry, yogurt red, think again. It's carmine, a natural red dye derived from crushed cochineal bugs. People have used it for thousands of years to color everything from clothes to makeup. But this is what they put in the food. It's one thing to wear it because they use it as a dye, but it's another thing to put it in your food and you ingest it. Unbelievable. But thankfully, I never ate this product and I never was into this product. Our food has been tampered with for a long time between the modified organisms, modified on a cellular level, which is toxic, but they also use flavor enhancers in our foods that includes, but not limited to, dead tissue from the little ones. The little ones, I'm talking about babies, all right? That were terminated early. You know what I'm talking about, right? Terminated before they were born. In fact, they never born. They were terminated. Yes, a company called Cinemix, and you can go and check this out too online. Before, you were able to find a lot of information about the companies that Cinemix sell their taste enhancers to. All right. So they're known to use flavor enhancers from said terminated little ones. Now you know why promiscuity was promoted, then termination of the little ones. When a woman becomes, you know what? She becomes pregnant after being promiscuous. And the easy way to solve this problem in their minds is to terminate it. Terminate the pregnancy. All right. Because they intended to feed the little ones back to us. That's exactly what they do. When they take the little one out, what do you think they were doing with the bits and pieces? All right, they're feeding it back to people in burgers. The double arches, the double golden arches. All right. I heard about this Yoplait farce some time ago using crushed beetles, calling it carmine on the list of ingredients. When it was found out, people refused to buy their yogurts, especially the strawberry flavored ones. People were eating this yogurt and feeding it to their children. That's why people were angry. All right? People got upset. So now we have another one. Are there beaver secretions in your vanilla ice cream? The short answer, probably not. That's not true. When they say not, it means yes. So now they have news articles or food influencers on social media might have you believe that castoreum, a yellow syrupy substance from the castor sacs near a beaver's anus, is found in your everyday vanilla flavored products, disguised as natural flavoring. According to some of these sources, castoreum is an ingredient in everything from ice cream to strawberry flavored oatmeal. Now, this came out some time back as well, where they were putting beaver butt juice, as I would call it, because it gave the same scent and flavoring as vanilla. All right? All right. But experts say that this couldn't be further from the truth why people have used castoreum for medicinal purposes, and yes, to flavor perfumes and foods since ancient times. Today, there's almost nothing in the grocery store today that contains castoreum. Oh, please. Nah. It turns out that the stuff is incredibly expensive because it's rare. There's no way it's in your ice cream, says Michelle, a chemist from at Bryn College who studies the science of food. Meanwhile, she says in 2020, about 16 million pounds of vanilla extract collected from vanilla orchids, a large group of flowering plants, was produced worldwide, according to the Food and Agriculture. Now, like, these people want us not to eat natural foods. They want us to eat bugs and worms and what have you. You think that they've been feeding us beaver butt juice all these years, that they're going to change that? You think they're going to give us healthy foods to eat? No. No matter what these people say, believe the opposite. Regardless of what these devils may say, they do not need a farm of beavers to produce beaver butt juice, calling it vanilla. Instead, they can reproduce it in a lab just like they can synthesize from a cell of a cow to make 3D printed meat, or grow the cell in a petri dish. However, they want to reproduce and create a production of this natural, quote unquote, natural flavoring. They can and have found a way. In view of knowing what they think about us and how they are trying to change our diets to that of bugs, do you actually think that they wouldn't feed us beaver butt juice as vanilla? Do you really think that? If they want us to eat worms and insects, what will stop them? And they have already started feeding us beaver butt juice. You think that they're going to stop now? No. These are wicked and evil Nephilim children and also their puppets. They hate us because they hate Alahayam Yahweh, and it gives them great pleasure to feed us their franken foods without our knowledge. And that's the thing, we were eating it and drinking it without our knowledge. I remember back in the day, all right, this is back in the early 2000s. And I noticed this. This is what the Spirit showed me. I remember when corn used to be, you can get, a couple of ears of corn for $5 or what have you. And all of a sudden you can get a dozen ears of corn for $1 or $2 at the most. And it just kind of struck me as odd. I said, how come the price of corn went down? How come they're giving us more for $1? And it's only after I started doing my research I came to find out that because corn was one of those main farm foods that was modified. Yes, it is. It is modified. So they want us to eat as much of the modified food as possible, so they make the real stuff expensive and make the modified foods cheap. Really, really cheap. And that's why you can get, back in those days, I'm not sure now, back in those days you can get a dozen ears of corn for $1 or $2. Because they're feeding us modified foods. So why not beaver juice? Anyways, let's move on. This is the last slide. Now I just wanted to show you how they've been feeding us garbage for a long time. And all this additional stuff now that they're bringing out, they fed us that garbage in the past without us knowing. Now they're introducing the ideas because people are starting to look at the list of ingredients. So they don't have a choice now in the matter. All right? They don't have a choice now in the matter. So they have to introduce the idea, use the actors and actresses to promote these ideas to get us comfortable with the idea of eating bugs. And when the time comes and there's nothing on the shelf but bug food, then you don't have a choice but to buy it and eat it. Finally, we have come to the conclusion of this particular part of the study. Hallelujah. We will conclude the rest of the study looking at the fall of the Nephilim, which is due to happen soon. Now we can understand why Alahayam Yahweh will devastate these creatures and anyone who submits to them. For all the wicked evil deeds that these creatures have done against us, Alahayam will cause them to suffer tremendously throughout his judgments against them. So now you understand why he is going to destroy them slowly but surely, painfully, because of all this wickedness that I've shown you in all four of these studies, the technologies, the devices that they're using, the foods that they want us to eat. Now you understand why Alahayam is going to slowly take them out with all these judgments, one after the other, from the trumpet judgment, the vial judgments especially. Take them out and take them down and destroy them forever. Let's look at Revelation chapter 16, verse 10. And the fifth angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, and his kingdom was full of darkness, and they gnawed their tongues for pain, and blasphemed Alahayam of heaven because of their pains and their sores, and repented not of their deeds. Of course, they can't repent because they're full of hate. So they'll be full of curses. And this is just a small portion that I've written down, but there are a lot of other judgments that he came against them, caused them to drink blood. Why? Because they shed a lot of innocent blood on the earth and drank some of it, and drank a lot of it. So now he's going to force them to drink stinky blood. It's not even a smelly, stinky blood. All these things he's going to cause them to do, to suffer, to make them suffer before he takes them down and takes them out. And these are the Nephilim children, by the way. The wicked ones that I've shown you, look, these ones here, eating the bugs and want us to eat the bugs. These ones here. Not that one, sorry. This one here. These ones here. And all the other ones along with them. Wicked, evil. Alahayam, Yahweh, and Hamashiach cause these creatures to suffer worse than how we are suffering today under their hand. Hamashiach will cause them to melt on their feet by the sword in his mouth, which is his powerful word that will be spoken against them. So when he comes against them, this is Revelation chapter 19. When he comes up with his saints on white horses, and he's standing against them there in Armageddon. All right? He's going to open his mouth, and his word is going to come forth like a sword, a white sword, a powerful sword, but it's his word that is coming forth. And it's going to strike them down where they are, and they're going to melt. And that melting is a rotting. They're going to rot while standing on their feet. Let's read it. Let's read Revelation chapter 19, verse 21 first. And the remnant were slain with the sword of him who sat upon the horse, whose sword proceeded out of his mouth. And all the fowls were filled with their flesh. So that sword is not an actual sword, but what Yochanan, the revelator, was saying, he was seeing the word coming from his mouth that looked like a sword. All right. Let's look at Zechariah chapter 14, verse 12. And this shall be the plague wherewith Yahweh will smite all the people that had fought against Jerusalem, and their flesh shall consume, meaning rot away, while they stand on their feet. So they're melting and rotting as they're standing on their feet. And their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. So they're literally melting, rotting away. I know a lot of people use this and call it nuclear weapons that were used against them. It's not nuclear weapons. It's the same sword from Hamashiach that came from his mouth. Alahayam gave him the word to speak. And that word, that powerful word, came from his mouth like a sword and destroyed these as they stood on their feet, as they will stand on their feet, melting their eyes and melting their tongues. Because they blaspheme with their tongue. They blaspheme the Most High with their tongue. So he's going to melt them as they stand on their feet. Okay. Yarawashalam here is not the literal place, but what it symbolizes, which is true worship. So when they fought against Yarawashalam, they weren't fighting literally against the city. They were, in fact, fighting against his true worship by introducing their pagan worship, their witchcraft, and what have you. All right? Alahayam Yahweh will use his son to speak his word, and this word will cause them to melt by rotting away, which will be a very painful process. Therefore, we have nothing to worry about concerning these wicked creatures. All that is there for us to do is to continue worshiping Alahayam Yahweh and believing in his son, Hamashiach, Yahweh, in order to enter into eternal life with them. Should be both of them, right? And thankfully, that's the ending of this particular series, looking at their devices, at their evil technologies. We can move on now to see their destruction. And that will be the ending of this particular study. This is an eye-opener, all right? If you are not paying attention, you can be easily deceived by these people. Remember what Hamashiach warned us and said? He said that he had to shorten the days, otherwise the very elect will be deceived. Also, what will cause us to become deceived is not knowing, not understanding what is really going on. Once you understand what is really going on, now you are in an informed position, and you know how to pray, and you know now, I'm not going to believe anything that these liars are going to say. I'm just going to keep my eyes looking up and keep worshiping Alahayam Yahweh. Because the one thing that they want to do is to stop us from worshiping him. They don't want us to worship him. They want us to become an abomination and to worship them, to submit to them through fear, because they have their fear tactics, their fear mongering, all of the above, to drive you to submit to them. And when you submit to them, then you will become an abomination like they are. You become an abomination. All right. So that's the ending. Praises to the Most High, Abba Yah. And let's end with the blessing for Yashua, taken from Madabar, chapter 6, verses 24 to 26. That's the book of Numbers, chapter 6, verses 24 to 26. Yabarakak Yahweh wa Yashamarak. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. Ya'ar Yahweh panayo alayak wa yachanak. May Yahweh cause his face to shine upon you and have favor upon you. Yasha'a Yahweh panayo alayak wa yashamlak Shalawam. May Yahweh lift up his face upon you and give you peace. And now we're going to recite the command that he has given to us to recite when we lie down, when we get up, when we go out, and when we come in. Taken from the Barayam, chapter 6, verses 4 and 5. That's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, verses 4 and 5. Shama'o Yashra'al Yahweh Alahayena Yahweh Achad wa Ahabat Ath Yahweh Alahayak, Bakal Babak, Wabakal Napashak, Wabakal Ma'adak. Hear, O Yashraal, Yahweh our Alahayam is one Yahweh, and you shall love Yahweh your Alahayam with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And with that I will say, Shalawam, Shalawam, all praises to the Most High, Alahayam.